Below is a pre-sort line. There's 3 box dumpers here. There were 8 box dumpers. Material could be pre-sorted, then went on a conveyor that went around this corner and then got put into the pit or on the floor for the in-feed conveyor for the primary SSI shredder. After going through the SSI shredder, it went up, hit a drum magnet at the top of this picture, and the magnetics came down and went on the right-hand side, and the non-magnetics went straight ahead. This is a picking platform or sorting platform where materials could be removed and dropped down below into bins. At the end of the picking platform, the magnetics and non-magnetics were combined again and went up into the SSI shredder, which is a quad, a Q100 quad, has a screen in it that's about 2.5 inches in size. So the particles coming out were minus 2.5 inches. There's a camera in the top of the hopper. Then after the shredder, there's a screen, about a 3/4 inch screen, so the fines were removed and taken off into a magnetic separation system. So the fines, you ended up with 2 products, a magnetic fines and a non-magnetic fines. Then the larger material that was plus 3/4 inch to 2.5 inches in size went through magnetic separation. 4 overbelt magnets, actually 3 overbelt magnets. After the magnetic separation, the material went through a destoner that removed lights and heavies so that uniform material would be presented to the Titech equipment following this. The feed out of the destoner was on this conveyor into this hopper, which fed this Titech finder system, which would separate metal from non-metal items. This is the hopper that would have the shredded material after the magnetic separation. This is the beginning of the Titech pan, shaker pan conveyor to spread the material out wide. And then this is the vinyl belt going into the Titech finder. The material that was non-magnetic or did not have metal in it came off to this side and went into super sacks. It was primarily plastic, and the material that had metal in it went off to this side and went through another Titech system called a CombiSense. There is another point where you could re-enter material, so there's a Gaylord box dumper and a bin here. This is the Titech CombiSense, which you train to go after color and shape. And so it would remove the circuit board, and then what was not circuit board was aluminum and stainless, and that would go off here to the right and up through a Huron Valley eddy current separator that would remove the aluminum and stainless. And then there'd be some materials that had to be put back through the system. These are the takeoff conveyors that would take the material out from underneath the eddy current. This is the pre-sort area where there used to be 8 Gaylord box dumpers and tables. Now there's 3. Once the material was triaged or inspected, it was thrown onto a conveyor, and which ultimately presented itself to the primary shredder. So on these box dumpers dumped onto a table where workers would extract materials that we did not want to go up into the shredding system. Material that was good would go on the conveyor, up and around, and into a pile, and then pushed into a pan shaker conveyor, which went up into the SSI 2-shaft 5000 shredder, hydraulically driven. There's a shaker conveyor coming out of the SSI shredder that had a screen in it that removed the minus 3/4 inch material and took it around the picking platform, but then the plus 3/4 inch material, which typically was plus 3/4 inch all the way up to about 7 inch, went up to a picking platform and hit a drum magnet initially. The drum magnet took the magnetic materials and moved them down this conveyor line, whereas the non-magnetic materials went down the primary conveyor line. This is the top of the conveyor coming out of the primary shredder. That kind of silver half moon thing in there is the drum magnet. It would take the magnetics down this sorting line, and the non-magnetics would come down this sorting line. The minus 3/4 inch materials came up this conveyor and bypassed the picking platform. This is a view from the drum magnet to the end. This is a look back at the conveyor that brought the material up. The right-hand side would be the steel magnetics, and the main line here was the non-magnetics. The two rejoined and went up into the SSI quad shredder. This is the reverse side of the SSI 5000 shredder, the hydraulic unit, 250 horsepower motors. This is the electrical panel and computer brains with all the system being tied together. If one thing shuts down, the rest of it shuts down. The interlocks, I guess you call them. This is the other side of the drum magnet going up to the picking platform. The picking platform had 4 bays that you could drop material down into. Once the material got to the end of the picking platform, the magnetics and non-magnetics rejoined and went up into the SSI shredder. Again, it's a Q100, has a grate in it that the material keeps going around until it becomes a -2.5-inch particle size. Then it hits a shaker conveyor and removes the -3/4-inch material and goes up that conveyor in the back of the picture here. Once the fines are removed, it continues down the shaker conveyor with 1 overbelt magnetic separator that picks the material up and drops it. The non-mags come down onto this conveyor. Then the magnetics that remained up there hit another magnetic overbelt conveyor. The non-mags drop down below, and the mags continue on and hit a 3rd variable magnet. This is the inverse side or reverse side, and we could adjust the strength of the magnet here, and we'd get clean steel and coppery steel. Clean steel could be sold, coppery steel would go off to a smelter or reprocessed. This is the back side of the magnetic separation. This is the fines that came out. That top pan there is the magnetic separator, and we'd end up with magnetic fines and non-magnetic fines. This is the back of the SSI shredder. 2 electric motors and the control panel. So after the magnetics and the fines were removed, the material would go up this conveyor to a destoner where lights and heavies were removed. So this would take, fine plastic bags and paper and things of that nature out, and then chunky stuff, heavy chunky stuff that was not removed by the magnetic separation. Then the material would go up this conveyor into this surge bin, and the material would go up this conveyor into the Titech finder. The purpose of this piece of equipment is to separate things with metal from things without metal. So basically, plastics were removed here and ended up in super sacks underneath this conveyor system. I'm going to go around to the other side of this. Materials could be reintroduced here if we were reprocessing things and wanted to run them back through the system. This box dumper would lift it up and put the material into a hopper and onto a conveyor and up into the Titech separator. There's a large pan, shaker pan conveyor to separate the material, spread it out. Then it hits the Tytech unit, and there's jet nozzles here that pop the metal bearing materials one direction and don't pop the plastic materials. So the metallic or metal bearing particles go up this direction. Again, there's a little bit of a surge hopper there and a box dumper that we can reintroduce materials. So this is the metal bearing materials. Would go up into another Tytech unit called a CombiSense, which would target green circuit board and the shape of the material. So coming out of this, we would end up with circuit board going one direction and then going up this conveyor to an eddy current, a Huron Valley eddy current. It would separate stainless from aluminum from any circuit board that got through. And that's the end of the system.